Good evening. I'm Emily Stahl, Richland Library's Community and Media Relations Coordinator, and I have the pleasure of welcoming you to this Community Tele-Town Hall. Thank you for joining us. South Carolina continues to have some of the highest eviction rates in the country. In fact, according to the Eviction Lab at Princeton University, our state is home to nearly half of the 100 most eviction-prone rural and small cities. While the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention recently extended the eviction moratorium through the end of this month, and it's providing some temporary relief, people are expressing anxiety and concern as the July 31st deadline nears. Add in the economic impact of a global pandemic, and the struggle to address an individual's or family's personal needs has amplified. At the end of 2020, Congress approved $25 billion in emergency rental assistance, more than $12 million of which Richland County received for both tenants and landlords. We want to connect you with this much needed assistance. So over the next hour, we plan to focus on the rights of tenants and landlords, the process and impact of filing for an eviction, obtaining legal aid, and identifying local funding such as emergency rental assistance, also known as ERAP. We also want to provide an opportunity to get your questions answered. If you would like to ask a question at any time during this meeting, press 0 on your telephone keypad, and you will be connected to a staff member who will note your name and question and then place you in a queue to ask the question live. If you're joining us via Zoom, you can also ask your question using the Q&A function. So let's get things underway. Tonight's panelists include Michael King, Richland County Emergency Services Department Assistant Director, Martina Tiku, NAACP Equal Justice Works Legal Fellow, Thomas Trent, SC Legal Services Attorney, and Lee Patterson, Richland Library's Social Work Director. Thank you all for joining us this evening. So let's begin with Michael King, Richland County Emergency Services Department Assistant Director. Michael, would you be able to tell us what does ERAP assistance include and who is eligible?
The Emergency Rental Assistance Program is designed to assist renters who are facing potential eviction or dealing with arrears and also needing possible future assistance, rental assistance, but it also includes utilities. And the way the program is designed by Treasury, it's a Treasury-sponsored program, is one of the priorities that we look at is any household that has a household income under 50% average median income for the Richland County area, or also anybody who's unemployed and been unemployed more than 90 days. Those are our top two priorities, but the program is also available for anybody who is under 80% of the AMI, which is the average median income for Richland County, and have faced a financial hardship due to the COVID-19 pandemic. To date, again, we were funded a little over $12 million, and as of today, we've actually encumbered over $7.5 million. That $12.5 million, and we've been able to directly assist approximately 1,300 households in Richland County. So we're very happy, we're very pleased, and again, I want to take a moment to thank the Richland Library System because without your help, this would not have been possible. The outreach you assisted us with, and also allowing us to be able to utilize your very talented staff to help our applicants file the applications, especially if they have any questions, any concerns, or have any issues with the internet. You guys have the tools, you have the knowledge, and you have the desire to really help. And we can't tell you how much we credit you for the success of this program to date.
Thank you so much for those kind words. Can you take us through the process for priority applicants versus non-priority applicants? What is the timeline for non-priority applicants to be reviewed?
Well, that's really a good question. Really, the timeline is applicant dependent, and what I mean by this is an applicant-driven program. So what we try to do is every day, our team tries to address as many applications as possible. We try to approve as many applications as possible as our capacity allows. Right now, we're averaging around 28.5 applications approved per day, and the actual approval amount's about $5,700 per application. So it is a substantial amount that our folks are approving. Again, they focus on the priority levels, under 50% AMI. About 85% of our approved applications are the priority level with the low AMI and the unemployment, the 90-day unemployment. We also, as time permits, we also try to look at those applications that are not in the high priority, but they're still in the priority areas. And we try to focus on those too, because we understand those folks need assistance. And every applicant is an individual. There's no two applicants or applications that are the same. So we try to look at each application on its own merit, and we try to get it approved as soon as possible. The bottom line, if you're under 80% AMI and you've faced a hardship because of the COVID-19 pandemic, then we will be, if not immediately, we will be looking at your application.
Once the status is approved, what comes next and who receives the payment?
Well, actually, the way the program's designed, it's designed for the actual landlord. Preferably, Treasury prefers the money goes to the landlord and or the utility companies directly. So that is one thing that probably I'm guessing about 95 to 97% of our applications are that method of payment. That payment goes to the landlord, the payment goes to the utility company direct on behalf of the applicant. And there are those occasions, and we've had situations where the landlord, for whatever reason, and we don't ask them why, but they choose not to participate. But in that matter of what that does, it does slow down the process some, because the landlords have up to 14 days to respond. And sometimes they choose just not to respond. And then there has to be, I think I muted myself. There has to be due diligence outreach, and we have to show that we've made at least 3 attempts to contact the landlord. At that time, the landlord can be deemed non-responsive, and then the money can be approved directly to the tenant with the condition they pay it towards their rental arrears or their future rent. So when the landlord does not participate, it doesn't halt the process, but it certainly slows the process down quite a bit.
That's a good point to note. Michael, can utility payments through ERAP be distributed while waiting on landlords to provide information for rental payments?
No. Until we have identified the landlord as non-responsive, we cannot go ahead and approve payment. And then once it's approved, then it goes through our normal Richland County accounts payable process. It goes into our accounts payable department, and then they disperse the checks out from there.
Thank you so much. And again, for those of you just joining us, my name is Emily Stahl. I'm Richland Library's Community and Media Relations Coordinator, and you are listening to our Community Tele-Town Hall on eviction moratorium and help that's currently available to both tenants and landlords. If you would like to ask a question, press 0 on your telephone keypad now and you will be connected. If you're joining us via Zoom, you can also ask your question in the Q&A chat box. And so let's go ahead and go to the phones. Let's get some questions. Sydney has a question regarding rental assistance and income limits. So this can go to Michael or any of the other panelists. Sydney, go ahead with your question.
Yeah, so what is the threshold amount? If I have $3,500 income coming in a month, was that over the threshold?
I could take that question. That depends, Cindy. It depends on the size of your household. And in fact, I would encourage you to go to www.richlandcounty.gov. There's a link on our county website that will take you directly to the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. And on that program, we have two links for you. Number one is the policies and procedures for the entire program, which includes the income. That's the income table that's actually designated by HUD. And also we have a frequently asked question section that also has that income limit. And it will tell you the size of your household and what the income limits are for that household to be under the 80% AMI and under the 50% AMI.
So Tiffany has a question about the application process. Tiffany, go ahead with your question.
Yes. like I said, I want to thank y'all so much for Richland Library for helping me because I didn't have a computer or anything. And so I want to thank y'all for the help that y'all helped me with. I did my application since April of 2021. And I know it was some things that were missing. I think the lease, I had to do another lease over. The landlord, I went to sign the lease and went to sign the lease, and I assume, I guess, or the secretary at the rental office sent it back, along with a neighbor of mine that was also getting assistance. And he has gotten his, and I've, keep calling. I hate to keep calling and asking, but it's just saying that it's still in quality. It's still in quality. My case manager is still reviewing. It's still in quality. It's still in quality. I don't know how long that, and I put my way in before he did. So I'm just like, I'm not understanding.
I think I can answer that. Again, as I said earlier, every application is unique and every circumstance is unique. So again, without knowing your specific information, I really can't give you specific details. But if you would give me a call tomorrow during business hours, and once I verify, I want to make sure, because we have to be very careful that we don't release personally identifiable information to unauthorized persons. But if you would give me a call tomorrow at my office, I'll be glad to look that information up, and we can get you an answer exactly where you're at. Let me look my number up here because I never call myself. Keep talking. I'll look the number up.
I was going to say thank you so much for your questions. We do appreciate it. And I'm so glad that you brought that up, Michael, because that was our next question, was if people would like to get in contact with you directly, is there a way that they can do that? So we'll let you look for your number, and then
I got it.
You got it? All right.
I got it. Yeah. And again, try to go through the call center first and try to work with your eligibility specialist. But if that fails or you don't get the information you need, please give me a call. My phone number is area code 803-731-8362. That's 803-731-8362. Or if you want to email me, it's king.michael@richlandcountysc.gov. That's king.michael@richlandcountysc.gov. And again, we can give you specific answers to your specific questions.
Wonderful. Thank you, Michael. Let's continue with Martina Tiku, NAACP Equal Justice Works Legal Fellow, and Thomas Trent, SC Legal Services Attorney. Martina, I'm going to come to you first. Can you provide an overview of the NAACP's Housing Assistance Program?
Yes, thank you so much. So the NAACP Housing Navigator Program is hosted out of the Columbia, South Carolina NAACP branch, and so we currently serve all of Richland County. The goal of the Navigator Program is to provide holistic support to anyone who is experiencing eviction, facing housing insecurity, or honestly just wants to get more information about their housing rights, where they can find assistance or access to other social services. So anyone who reaches out to the program is paired with a navigator. Navigators are community volunteers who are trained by our Housing Navigator program on how to provide access to financial assistance. So a lot of our navigators will work closely with their clients to help them fill out this ERA funding applications. The navigators will also connect their clients with pro bono attorneys, and so that's where our partnership with South Carolina Legal Services comes into play, as well as our eviction diversion clinic, which is in collaboration with Nelson Mullins and the Richland County Bar Association. And so individuals who need legal assistance, whether that's they need someone to represent them in court or they need assistance, negotiating something with their landlord, the navigators will help facilitate them getting that type of assistance. Additionally, the navigators play a huge role in ensuring that our clients are able to get access to the necessary social services that they need as well. We've seen a lot of people who come because they're facing an eviction, but they have so many other issues going on, whether that's they're behind on utilities, maybe their healthcare concerns, whatever it may be. really try to provide this holistic support to all of the clients that come to us. We don't currently have any income eligibility requirements or things of that nature. So anyone who reaches out and lives in the Richland County area, we are willing and able to provide assistance and connect you with your own personalized navigator who is going to, kind of walk with you throughout this journey and just provide confidential and holistic assistance to whatever your issues may be.
Thank you so much. Trent, I want to bring you into the conversation as well. What rights do you have as a tenant, and what rights do you have as a landlord?
Well, in order to, let me start with, an eviction is kind of like a two-tier process. The landlord will send a notice to vacate to the tenant in a letter form, basically giving them maybe 30 days to move out. Now, a lot of people think that's the eviction paper, but if you don't see that that's not legal pleadings filed in magistrate's court, that's just a letter. That starts the eviction process. Once the notice to vacate is given, after that 30 days, if the tenant does nothing, then the landlord has to file an action in magistrate's court. Then the person gets served by for eviction. Now, the eviction can be placed on your door, so unfortunately, if the wind blows the pleadings away, you may not get notice of the eviction. The most important thing is when you get served with eviction papers, you have 10 days to request a hearing in magistrate's court. If you don't contact the magistrate's court within those 10 days, and those aren't business days, those include holidays and the weekends. If you don't request a hearing within those 10 days, you lose your right to have a hearing. And what will happen is you'll get a writ of ejectment. So the only way that somebody can be put out of their house is if the magistrate's court actually serves you with a writ of ejectment. But in order for that to happen, you would have to have gone through the eviction process. Now, once you request a hearing, it may take some time for the hearing to be scheduled. Usually those run really quickly, about maybe, by the time you request a hearing, you might get a hearing date a week later. And then that's when you're going to need to either find an attorney to represent you because you're at a disadvantage in magistrate's court if you go by yourself.
So speaking of that, for both Martina and Trent, what is the timeline for receiving legal assistance through the NAACP's Housing Assistance Program and through SC Legal Services attorneys regarding evictions?
Okay, well, for legal services, once we get an application, we'll do an intake for you. When we'll get a referral from the NAACP Navigator Program, or if you could go to our website at www.sdlegal.org and apply online, or call our intake line at 888-346-5592. Then what will happen is we'll do an intake. If you get served with eviction papers, we treat that as an emergency. Once we get that intake completed, the intake is immediately transferred into the local office for Columbia, and the managing attorney will then review that case and assign that for some kind of services with an attorney if it meets all the our guidelines. That usually takes less than 24 hours from the time you get the intake completed. Because again, once the intake is completed, during that day, it will be transferred usually to the local office as an emergency, and an email will be sent to the managing attorney alerting them of the emergency, and then things will happen, because what we're trying to do is most of the people that call us have not requested that hearing. We need to get a hold of them before they let those 10 days run out. because again, if you those 10 days run out, there's nothing for you to do.
Martina?
Yeah, I'll just say for the Navigator program, so once a client submits an intake form, it typically takes around 24 to 48 hours for them to be assigned a Navigator. Our Navigators are trained on how to identify someone whose case needs to be escalated to South Carolina Legal Services. And so it kind of, the timeline really depends on the urgency of your case at that time, on how quickly your Navigator is going to either connect you with South Carolina Legal Services, and sometimes our Navigators in their first conversation with the client will just walk them through how to fill out that SC Legal Services application. If the person is, more qualified or they're better suited to be connected with the pro bono attorneys in the eviction diversion clinic, then the Navigator will take the appropriate steps to make that connection, and that can take another 1 to 2 days for that connection to be established. So it is a fairly quick process because, like Thomas said, an eviction can happen very, very quickly, and we want to just capitalize on all the time we can to make sure someone is able to stay in their home or at least, have their day in court and have that eviction hearing.
So it sounds like if someone's on a short timeline, it is still possible to get an attorney to represent them in court. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've had somebody do an intake with us the day before the hearing, and we either actually got the hearing continued or we represented them at the hearing the next day. So it's possible. Don't give up because again, you want to make sure you're on at least a level playing field when you go to the magistrate's court.
Thomas, Martina, thank you. Again, for those of you just joining us, my name is Emily Stahl. I'm Richland Library's Community and Media Relations Coordinator, and you're listening to our Community Tele-Town Hall on the eviction moratorium and help that is currently available to both tenants and landlords. If you would like to ask a question, press 0 on your telephone keypad now and you will be connected. If you're joining us via Zoom, there is also a Q&A function where you can submit your question as well. So let's get to a couple of those. We do have a question I'm going to pose to our panelists. Can a landlord use these funds to pay legal fees associated with a tenant?
Emily, are you speaking about the Emergency Rental Assistance Program?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Now, the program does provide for any type of reasonable, Treasury Department describes it as reasonable fees, such as late fees, any other type of documentation fees. The landlord can claim those costs as part of the application for assistance. And while we're talking about assistance, and I don't know if we have the City of Columbia on here or not, but I think it's one thing important for people to realize there's also a rental and mortgage assistance program that the City of Columbia is working in conjunction with cooperative ministries. And we've worked with the City of Columbia quite frequently on that, working together. Now it's for City of Columbia residents only. But it's also another resource folks need to be aware of because it also provides for mortgage assistance. And again, that's through the cooperative ministries. And again, we've had great success working with them as a team member, and it's great to have them as an additional resource. Not aware if everyone was aware of that extra program or not.
Thank you, Michael. We're going to go to another question. I believe this one's going to be directed toward Martina. Cynthia has a question regarding connecting with NAACP navigators. Go ahead, Cynthia.
Yes. Okay, my first question is, what is the number to get in touch with a navigator?
Hi, Cynthia. So you can actually submit an intake form at our website. Our website, and I'm going to type it as well, but it's navigator.scnaacp.org. You can also call into the Columbia branch, and I'm going to pull that number up for you very quickly as well. But the best way to get in touch is to just go to our website and fill out that fill out that intake form. So that intake form just kind of gives us a brief overview of what your housing situation is, and then we use that information to connect you with a navigator as soon as possible.
And Cynthia had a second question as well. Go ahead, Cynthia.
I am elderly and I cannot operate the computer. It is a lot of our problems. This is why we have not filled out anything, because we don't know how to operate the computer.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. We really appreciate your question. Let's go to another question. This deals with the ERAP assistance. And Raquel has a question. Michael, I believe this will be directed toward you. Raquel, go ahead.
Yes, thank you so very kindly. Yes, I would like to know what is the normal time frame once you approve, because now that I know that this is the Richland County emergency assistance program, I do believe I have already taken part in that. Have been on the waiting list for several months and finally got approved. I'm looking in the portal, but it's been probably 2 or 3 months since dispersing funds, and I was just wondering if you knew what the normal turnaround time was for that, and that's why I'm.
Yeah, what we're being told by our accounts payable department, the normal business turnaround time is 21 days, 21 calendar days. And again, you could give me a call tomorrow. I don't want to talk about particulars because of privacy issues, but if you want to give me a call tomorrow, we'll make sure we verify your identity, and we'll get you the information with your specific case. Again, my number is 732 area code 803 731 8362. And if you give me a call during business hours tomorrow, we'll take a look at your case and we can tell you exactly where you're at.
I have another question coming from Carlton about how to access an application to update information. Carlton, go ahead with your question.
Hello?
Carlton, are you there? There you go. Hey, how are you?
Good, good.
Go ahead with your question.
Oh, it's me. I got to ask the same question.
Yes, go ahead. You're going to ask it to our panelists.
Oh, okay. Yeah, when I was asking, they sent me an email like 2 weeks ago, and it was telling me that I need to update. And for some reason, I couldn't get back on the renter assistance. So I sent an email to my case manager with my case number and stuff like that. So I was trying to see was I'm updated or anything, what else I need to do.
You can do a couple things, Carlton. You can wait for them to respond to that email, or you can also call the intake center at 855-216-9188. That's 855-216-9188. Or again, during business hours tomorrow, if you want to give me a call at 803-731. Hold on a second, I got to look at my number again. 731-8362. 731-8362. We'll take a look at your case and we can tell you exactly what you need to do.
Speaking of contact information, Martina and Trent, if people would like to get in contact with you directly, how can they do that?
If you need to contact me directly, you can call area code 803-744-9444, or you can email me at thomastrent@sclegal.org.
I can be reached directly at mtiku@naacpnet.org. I can also be reached by phone at 978-707-9538.
Thank you both so much.
And again, we do have. I was going to say the Navigator website is live, and that's the best place to get in touch with the Navigator program as a whole to submit that intake form, and that's been dropped in the chat.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. We're going to go ahead and continue our conversation with Lee Patterson, Richland Library Social Work Director. Lee, would you be able to provide some background on the library's social work department, as well as its connection to the eviction moratorium and ERAP assistance?
Absolutely. And I also wanted just to address Cynthia's question real quick. If you need access to a computer or someone to help you to key in the information, whether it be reaching out to the NAACP or the Emergency Rental Assistance Program, that is what our department is here for. So you're welcome to give us a call at 803-509-8371. We'll be happy to help you either do the NAACP application and the Emergency Rental Assistance application, using the computer and do that in person or over the phone. So we're happy to help with that. But just a little background on us. We have been around, I guess, for 8 years now. And so our goal is to assist individuals in our community with kind of any and everything. So whenever individuals come in or call and they have questions, whether it be about rental assistance, housing, shelters, food stamps, health insurance, child support, VA benefits, our goal is to help address that and help send them in the right direction or get them access to those applications in a free, confidential, and individualized way. And so how we have been assisting with emergency rental assistance is kind of, as Mike has already said, we have been having our social work department out there as a way for you to be able to apply. So coming in and doing appointments with us, or if you want to email us, we're happy to send you the link along with the documents that you need in order to do it on your own. And then also being a mediator or a, going between with you and your specialist to be able to get your documents uploaded and make sure that your application is sound and, approved, and you're able to get the help that you need so that you can stay housed.
Lee, what would you say is the biggest need that you're currently seeing among applicants, and what are their primary concerns?
Well, I think, a number of things, but mainly, getting the assistance to stay housed. We have applicants who have come in with pretty significant amounts that they have past due, and they're really worried. They're concerned they're going to be evicted. Sometimes their landlord may not know the process for filing an eviction, so they're worried that they could be kicked out as early as tomorrow without any kind of heads up or warning. And so, someone to help take on a part of that load, helping them with the application, helping to give them the moratorium letter so they know that they should be able to hopefully be able to stay housed at least until July 31st, as well as being able to connect them with the NAACP so that they are able to get access to an attorney and a navigator, someone who can also continue to walk with them through this process from start to finish.
And would you be able to share, is there any other assistance currently available through the library?
Well, yes. So the library has found a way to be able to assist very similarly to what the Emergency Rental Assistance Program is. So homeowners as well as renters who have been impacted by COVID-19, they're able to get assistance with us. And then we're also, still partnering with our same partners. So Salvation Army and Waterway Community Action, and then the Cooperative Ministry, of course, referring them to, other agencies where assistance may be available. And I did want to mention that the Cooperative Ministry has an event coming up on Saturday, July the 17th, in which there's no appointment necessary. You are able to bring, some items with you and apply for that rental assistance, and that's from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And so I'm happy to provide that flyer if you want to send us an email at socialworker@richlandlibrary.com. We'll have that information with you so that you're able to get that flyer and attend the event and get that assistance.
Thank you so much, Lee. We really appreciate it. So again, for those of you who are joining us, my name is Emily Stahl. I'm Richland Library's Community and Media Relations Coordinator, and you're listening to our Community Tele-Town Hall on the eviction moratorium and help that is currently available to both tenants and landlords. If you would like to ask a question, press 0 on your telephone keypad now, and you will be connected. If you're joining us via Zoom, you can drop your question in the Q&A function that's located there at the bottom of your screen. So we do have a couple of questions. I believe this is going to go toward Martina and Trent. What happens if there's an eviction and it doesn't involve rent or payment?
If the eviction isn't based on failure to pay, then the moratorium, the eviction goes through. There's no moratorium for that. So if the landlord has been suing you for eviction for either the lease term is ended or a lease violation, you're not protected by the moratorium, the declaration. The declaration is for failure to pay rent because of the inability due to the pandemic.
Thank you so much for that. What happens, again, we have a couple of questions coming through the chat. Michael, I believe this is directed toward you. Wondering what happens if a tenant's landlord will not provide documents for an ERAP application. Would you be able to go into that again?
Sure. The only thing that does is really it slows down the process. And we have had situations where landlords, for whatever reasons, have been what we consider non-responsive. However, Treasury requires us to show due diligence. They're allowed up to 14 days to respond. And then during that time period, we have to show that we made good faith efforts to reach out to the landlord. And then after that 14-day period, they could be considered non-responsive. And at that time, if the application is approved, the funds would go directly to the tenant. And then the tenant would, of course, be instructed that those funds need to go towards their rental arrears or future rent. So it does not stop the process, but it does slow the process down.
Thank you so much. Our next question is going to come from Shauna. Oh, go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
I was going to butt in by saying if that happens, then you also need to take the dual approach and then try to contact either the Navigator program or legal services to see, because while you're still waiting on the processing for the ERAP money, the eviction timeline is still ticking away. So you need to work on both sides of the issue.
Thank you. I'm going to unmute Shauna. She has a question regarding what happens if you have already been evicted. Shauna, go ahead.
Okay. Due to the pandemic, when this all first formulated, we were living in an apartment. Me, my daughter, she's pregnant with her baby, and we were like a month, maybe 2 months behind in rent due to the fact that I lost my job out at Amazon. They evicted us. My daughter went into the hospital up on the emergency C-section, and I went with her. When we came back to our home, they had changed the locks on our door, and we could even get in to get our things.
And so you're looking at what.
So we wanted. My question is: are y'all helping people that have already been evicted when the pandemic first broke out and are still with nowhere to stay?
I can take that from the emergency rental assistance. I can't take it from the legal perspective, but from the emergency rental assistance program, the program does provide funding for someone in the situation that they're homeless now, and they're trying to get a new residence, a new apartment or rental home, and it does help pay if they're a Richland County resident and they qualify. It does help pay security deposits, late fees, and things like that. So that's a big help for folks, especially those who are facing homelessness right now, because a lot of times it's just not your rent that you have to come up with, but it's the security deposit, the fees, the background investigation fees. There's so many fees, and those are all covered and are all qualified if it's a qualified applicant. And that's from the ERP or ERAP perspective.
Martina?
I'll just say from the Navigator perspective, we do work with individuals who are currently unhoused. We have a partnership with 180 Place as well as additional transitional housing services that we've put together. So definitely feel free to reach out to the Navigator program as well. If you're currently unhoused, currently in the process of trying to find new housing, we do have navigators who are trained on how to assist you through that process.
Thank you. We're going to go to Patricia. Patricia has a question regarding reapplying. Patricia, go ahead with your question.
Question. If you wanted to reapply, you're still on disability, and you was accepted through the ERAP, and I think it's until September the 31st, would you reapply again, and what time limit or frame that I would have?
Yeah, the ERAP program actually, with funds permitting, if you're an approved applicant, they'll provide up to 12 months of assistance and up to 15 months of assistance if the housing stability needs are demonstrated. So what you can do is you can go back into you already have your case number, you already have your application that's been approved. You should have an an eligibility specialist already assigned to you. What you need to do is go back in and reopen your application, and you can request supplemental funding. And again, in most cases, future rent is only paid in 3-month segments. And utilities are only paid in arrears. So we have several situations where we have individuals now that we've been into the program for 90 days. They need additional assistance for the next 90 days moving forward, and also with their utilities that they've developed arrears in the last time period since they had assistance. So, yes, we are accepting additional assistance requests, and those are being processed on a daily basis.
Our next question comes from Linda. She has a question regarding computer access. Linda, go ahead with your question.
I was saying earlier, just like the other lady was speaking about, the computer knowledge and computer skills, and if you don't have access, how can you, I went to the library and I feel like my application there because they did it for me. But by me wanting to check and know what's going on with me as far as the program, I can't do that. So how do I go about doing that?
What you can do, ma'am, is call 855-216-9198. That's 855-216-9198, and that's the actual intake center. And again, the lines are pretty busy, so you have to leave them a message. But you can call, give them your case ID number that was assigned to you when your application was accepted, and they'll call you back and work with you and make sure you know what's going on.
Our next question comes from Milana. She has a question regarding her landlord and next steps. Milana, go ahead with your question.
Yes. I did the program for Richland County, but currently in Lexington County. Now, my application has been reviewed twice. I do have a caseworker, but I've never heard from her, even though they've emailed her to ask her questions because I'm having trouble getting that W-9. So what do I do now? And how long? I heard you say that could be a setback. So what should I do if I can't get him to fill out the W-9?
Again, if you're in Lexington County, that's not our program, so I really don't want to speak on their program. I believe they're under the state's SC State program. And Lee, you probably have more information on that, don't you?
I have a little bit, and I'm not sure if they are going to be sending funds to the tenant the way that Richland County is. I'm going to be meeting with them tomorrow morning, so if you want to leave a message or send us an email or call us, I'm happy to follow up with you once I talk with them in the morning. They've got a meeting, I think, at 9 or 10.
Lee, what's the best way that people can get a hold of you?
It's 803-509-8371 is our phone number. Please leave a message. We will call you back if we miss your phone call. Again, that is 803-509-8371, or send us an email at socialworker@richlandlibrary.com.
Speaking of the library's social work department, Keisha is on the line and has a question for you. Keisha, go ahead with your question.
Hi. So if I already had an appointment with them and everything at the Richland Library, and I brought everything I needed, the W-9, everything, and she said I was eligible for the 12-month thing, what happens after that? She gave me the confirmation number, my confirmation number, my password, and I created my account. all that there. So what happens after that? Because you told me just to keep checking and stuff to see, I guess, when it's updated or something. I don't know.
I can take that. Yeah. Once you have your case ID number, that means your application has been submitted. Now, in reality, there may be a lot of additional information we may need that was, even though your application has been submitted. Again, I don't know your specific instance, but what you can do is you can go on the website, you have your login, you have your password, and you can actually look at your case and you can review the status of your case. And in fact, if you look at that, there's an icon on your website. It's called Audit Log. And that audit log will tell you date and timestamp exactly where you're at in that process. And it may also show what is needed. And it will also tell you who the eligibility specialist is that's working on your particular application. So I would encourage you to go on the website, look at the audit log. And again, if you have any questions, you can call the 855 number. That's 855-216-9198. And they'll be able to help you out with any questions you may have. Again, we're approving around 28 and a half average applications, 28 to 29 applications a day. So there is quite a backlog. We still have substantial funding available. So we're working our way the best way we can through each and every application to get them approved. But again, that audit log will give you a real breakdown of where you're at. It'll show when you submitted it, what's required, and if there's any, they call them RFIs, but requests for information, that you may need to comply to get your application moving through the process.
Thank you so much. Again, for those of you just joining us, my name is Emily Stahl. I'm Richland Library's Community and Media Relations Coordinator, and you're listening to our Community Tele-Town Hall on the eviction moratorium and help that is currently available to both tenants and landlords. If you would like to ask a question, you can press 0 on your telephone keypad now, and you will be connected. If you're joining us via Zoom, you can also include your question in the Q&A function. So our next question goes for Thomas and Martina, comes from Shakira regarding evictions and how that will impact new places moving forward. Go ahead, Shakira.
Yeah, excuse me. Yes, I was approved for the ERAP program, and the landlord, it was to send all the documents. Finally, all the documents came when they finally submitted the ledger. Now, it is my understanding when I spoke with the caseworker that was working on my case, that, it will pay the arrears and help 3 months forward. But when they received the funding, all of the fees were eaten up by, I guess, late fees and everything, which only assist maybe a month for this month and maybe half of next month. So that's my part one of the question. I don't know where to go from there.
Once your landlord submitted their request with all the ledgers and stuff, that request should have had everything they were expecting as far as late fees and everything else. Now, if there's something different, if they came back and added late fees after that, that would be a legal question. I would defer to our legal scholars if they could do that or not. But what we do is we pay what is requested, including any late fees. So what I would do is get a hold of your case or your eligibility specialist, your caseworker again, and let them know what's going on with this, because this program paid for 3 months of prospective rent, future rent for you in good faith. And that good faith was based on what that landlord was telling us. So make sure we're aware of that, and we can reach out to that landlord and try to figure out what's going on, because you're entitled to 3 additional months of prospective rent. So it may be a situation where they're valid fees. We don't know. Again, I don't know your specific case. We'd have to look at that. But again, you're entitled up to 12 months of assistance and up to 15 months funding availability of assistance in this program. So again, get a hold of your eligibility specialist. Let them know what's going on. You can send an email to them. If you're on your program, you should have the email address for your eligibility specialist, or you can call them at the 855 number and let us know what's going on. These are things that we want to know about. Now, as far as legality, I'm going to defer to Mr. Trent on any type of legality with a landlord doing that.
And my quick response is that you probably need to do an application for our services so we can look at exactly what the landlord submitted and see what we can do to help you with that. Because again, because of them taking part of the 3 months advance and adding more fees, you're looking at a possible eviction. So we need to take a look at it, and there's really no one answer. Everything is going to be individual, depending on what the landlord submitted. So I would tell you to give us a call for legal services and try to get that started before you're in any position where the landlord says you've eaten up all your rental assistance, and now I'm going to file an eviction against you for non-payment of rent.
Martina, we also have several questions coming in as to how people can contact the NAACP navigators. Would you mind sharing that?
Yes. So the primary methods for contacting us right now are, one, submitting an intake form via our website. And so the website is navigator.scnaacp.org, or you can call into the branch at 803-256-8771 extension 2. And that will put you in contact with our admin team, who will follow up with you to do an intake and connect you with a navigator. So those are the two primary methods, and I can drop that in the chat again as well.
Thank you so much. Our next question comes from Ms. Pringle. She has a question regarding once the deadline of the eviction moratorium, if that comes on July 31st. So Ms. Pringle, go ahead with your question.
So my question is, I put in my application on April 1st, the actual day that we were notified by our apartment complex to do so. But I do know that, just like you said, the extension is up July 31st. So I guess my question would be, for those of us who are waiting to see if we get approved or not, what do we need to do come the 31st if we still do not have that approval?
I would tell you that if you haven't got the approval and they immediately then turn around on August 1st and then start you with eviction, then you need to contact us. And then, because again, then you're going to have to deal with the legal issue and then the issue about getting the rent, because if you wait on the money to be approved, it's possible, and ignore any eviction papers, you could find yourself being evicted.
Thank you. There's a follow-up question to something that was mentioned earlier, the audit log. Wanting to know if it's accessible on the applicant side of the software. Would anyone be able to address that?
I believe it is. I'm going to have to double check that, but I do believe it is. Or the applicant can ask. Again, it's case specific, so the applicant can get a hold of their eligibility specialist and ask for that. I know I have capability of seeing that, and I believe it's on the applicant's side, but I'm not absolutely sure. But irregardless, they can get a hold of the eligibility specialist, and they'll walk them through the audit log.
Michael, I'm going to stay with you. There are several questions about additional funding. Is any additional funding going to be available?
Yes. Right now, under the American Rescue Plan, Richland County has been authorized an additional $9.3 million for Emergency Rental Assistance Program 2. Now, that is at the conclusion of Emergency Rental Assistance Program 1. which we're still, again, we're over halfway through with it right now. So the program will continue into the near future. But again, as you can see, within 90 days of our program, we've encumbered over $7.5 million already out of that. So it's going very, very rapidly. So we encourage people to apply and make sure they get their application completed. And if there's any request for information, get that information in, because that application will not move forward unless the information is provided. But yes, there's additional funding now. Because it is, even though it's an emergency rental assistance program, there are enough variances that it's going to be a slightly different program. And right now we're getting final guidance from Treasury, and we'll be revising and updating our policies. So what we envision will be an ERAP 1 policy, which is specifically for the current program that we have right now. And then we'll have a new policy for ERAP 2. And then what we'll do is we're going to do quite a bit of outreach before we launch ERAP 2. But what we're hoping is that it will be an absolute seamless transition, that individuals who have already applied for ERAP 1 and the funding expires will automatically move those into the ERAP 2 program. So we're hoping it'll be transparent and seamless, the process of going into ERAP 2. So it's very encouraging. We were given, again, additional $9+ million.
Any other final thoughts from our panelists?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Sorry. Any other final thoughts from our panelists?
Well, I would just say, my advice has always been, please don't wait. If you're looking for rental assistance, if you're looking for legal assistance, please go ahead and reach out now. I know a lot of times we think we've got someone helping or something in the back burner, but that can always fall through. So go ahead and submit your application. The deadline is definitely coming up, for the moratorium to end. So please go ahead and get your application in so that we can help you not only with your rental assistance, but also getting a hold of a navigator or an attorney to be able to help represent you in the case that you might be evicted.
Any other final thoughts? Well,
I would just echo everything.
Oh, go ahead.
I would just echo everything that Leah is saying. There's so many people who really do want to help. We know people are going through a very difficult time right now, and it can be very isolating. But there are a lot of people who are willing and able to help however they can. So whatever, method or organization makes more sense for your situation, definitely just reach out.
And I'd like to add, tonight's a great example of working as a team and working together. As everyone has said before, it really is a team effort, and everybody really wants to help. And and again, so far, like I said, we've been able to help allocate funds to over 1,300 households, and we want to double, triple that, and hopefully even more down the road. You never know what's going to happen. But again, as Lee said, I agree 100%, get the application in and reach out for legal aid or navigator aid. It's there to help you, and don't delay. Unfortunately, a lot of times, as Mr. Trent said, a lot of times it's sometimes too late before folks are aware of what's going on. So try to let us know ahead of time what you need. And again, if you have any questions on your application, don't wait. Pick up the phone, call the call center, call me. We'll figure out what's going on for you.
I'd like to end with saying, when you do an application with Navigator or with us, we do have a holistic approach. So many additional issues pop up out of result of an eviction, and we're going to try to find a way to help you with everything that you need.
Thank you all so much. I know it's hard to believe, but an hour has already come and gone. We want to take a moment to thank all of our panelists who have shared some incredible information over the course of the last hour. Michael King with Richland County Emergency Services Department, the Assistant Director. Martina Tiku, NAACP Equal Justice Works Legal Fellow. Thomas Trent, SC Legal Services Attorney. And Lee Patterson, Richland Library Social Work Director. We also want to thank all of you, for joining us for this presentation tonight. If your question has not been addressed, please stay on the line to leave a message, and we will return your call in the coming days. Also, we want to let you know the recording of this Community Tele-Town Hall will be posted on richlandlibrary.com later this week, so please consider sharing it with others. Lots of great information. Thank you again. We hope you found this hour helpful, and this concludes our call. Stay safe and healthy.